Hello everybody, I'm the world's worst, but you can call me iRolls, and this is another Siege video. And it's still kind of preparing for another series I have coming up, but it's kind of part of that series, so I don't really know. But anyways, in this video, I'm going to rank my top 5 defending operators. This will kind of give you an idea of some of their abilities, and also show you what, in my opinion at least, are some of the better ones. And note that this is my personal opinion, so don't get angry when I don't pick your main. Anyways, let's get into it. Oh yeah, and don't expect this to be like an in-depth strategical review or anything. So I have to fit like 5 of these operators into like a 10-minute at most video. So my 5th favorite operator, and the one starting off this list, is Ela. Honestly, Ela has been nerfed and buffed so many times I'm not sure if she should be off this list because she's so bad or higher on it. But here we go. Her primaries are the same combo that most operators have, a shotgun and an SMG. Her shotgun, the FO12, is semi-automatic, and while it isn't as good as the other primary, I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually the second best shotgun in the game besides the Spaz 12 or whatever, the Russian shotgun. So, I usually put a holographic sight, extended barrel, and angled grip on it, and her other primary, the SMG, is the Scorpion Evo. So this gun has a really low damage, which is not the best, but the super high fire rate makes it amazing. But these weapons of hers, they're only meant to help her gadget, which is her Gersmont mines. So she has 3 of these mines that stick to walls or ceilings, making them so you can basically put them anywhere on any map. I'll put them around near the objective, but you can put them wherever you want. When these attackers get too close to these, they blow, and they impair the attacker's vision and hearing. And it's really important to have yourself or a teammate kill the enemy as soon as they trigger the mine, because this effect will eventually wear off. I like to play her as a lurker near the mines, as some people choose her as a roamer, which I can see her with a more roaming play style. But overall, she has decent weapons, and if acted on quickly, a really good gadget. Now, my 4th favorite defensive operator is the spawn peeker himself, Jaeger. At least, Jaeger was the go-to spawn peeker until his ACOG got removed. Anyways, Jaeger's one of the German operators and also one of the most commonly picked operators in the game, and he has been for a while. His primaries are the Mate 70 shotgun and the 416 carbine. The Mate shotgun is an awesome weapon to use at close range, but I prefer ye old weapon of mass destruction, the assault rifle. So back in the ACOG days, this weapon would kill you in the first 5 seconds of every match. Every single time. The high damage and low rate of fire make it like most assault rifles, but I think it goes perfectly with Jaeger's roaming playstyle. I'll run it with a holographic sight, compensator, and an angled grip. So Jaeger's gadget is the active defense system, or the ADS. He has 3 of these, and they disable grenades that come into their line of sight. So this counters multiple operators' abilities, such as Thatcher and Ying, and they're also just extremely useful in general. Along with this, you can choose between barbed wire and a deployable shield. Neither go too well with the ADS, so have your pick, but besides that, there's not much to it. He's a really simple and effective operator, and he can get the job done. Next is the Moroccan man himself, Cade. So, as the oldest operator in Rainbow, he has old bones, and he can't move that well, so just have mercy on him and hold one angle the whole match. So, his guns consist of a crappy SMG and the best shotgun in the game, and that shotgun happens to have an ACOG and a literal brick as a suppressor, so use the shotgun. His gadget is the Retilla? I don't know, it's some electric claw thingy, and it's a better version of Bandit's batteries that electrifies everything in its range, and it can stick to ceilings and walls, allowing you to electrify hatches and also will hide it better so attackers have a harder time disabling it. Also, along with that, he has impact grenades, which I'll only use on bomb to open up a passage between the 2 objective rooms, and barbed wire, which can be useful when you electrify it for keeping drones out, but I personally don't think that's the best use for your electro claw. Anyways, there's not much else to him, except his secondary, which is a better sniper than Glaz is, and that's about it. He's one of the beefiest characters in the game, a good anchor. There's not much else to say. So my second favorite defending operator is actually one of the new ones, one of the Australian ones, Mozzie. So he's a really interesting character, but the only part of his bio you need to read is the first line, and you basically get the gist of him. That line is also funny since his gadget is a type of spider, but as you should know by now, we have weapons to cover first. His first primary is a P10 Macaroni, or a pistol transformed into an SMG. So this gun has low damage and clip size, but a high rate of fire, making it like most SMGs. And while this gun is pretty good one-on-one, I find that you get stuck having to reload a lot, and that's not so good against multiple enemies, which isn't that big of a problem since your secondary should be a primary, but it's enough of a problem to bug me. I prefer his assault rifle, the Commando 9. I'll run in this with a hollow sight, a compensator, and an angled grip, and not only is this gun really good, but the reload animation alone is enough to make you use it. But, as always, the most important part of Mozzie's kit is his gadget, the Pest Launcher. The robot spider flinger, as I like to call it, deploys little pests that can either latch directly onto drones or wait as a trap. And these hack drones, the attacker's drones, and give them to you. So this is really good because it takes one of the biggest advantages that attackers have and gives it to you. So this gadget is pretty simple. Just don't put it in the objective room doorways. You want to put it out where, in places you know the attackers will have to come through. Kind of like the dual stairways in House if you're upstairs. You just want to make sure this is in the place where you have the highest chance of getting a drone and the highest chance of keeping drones out of the objective. And do it right as the match starts. Also, since he's a 2-speed, I like to use him as a lurker, and just use the drones you capture if you play him. Like, I don't know how many times I have to witness teammates playing Mozzie and just not using the drones, which is really annoying. As for his other gadgets, you have a choice between Prickly Wire and the King of Explosives, so choose the right one. So now, we're on to my favorite defending operator, and my second favorite operator in the whole game, Frost. So Frost, aka Poutine Girl, has the same backstory as most operators in the game, which is she just joined the military willy-nilly, so her bio is not that interesting. She was part of the organizing JTF2, or Joint Task Force 2, which kind of confuses me, like, what happened to the first Joint Task Force? Was it shut down? Did it run out of funding? Did Fuse take his big boy for a walk? Who knows? Anyways, her gadget is literally a bear trap meant for humans, which, compared to other gadgets the defenders have, seems not that good. And that's the really thing about the Canadian operators, but as soon as I tried out Frost, which I only did because I am Canadian, I found that she's actually a really good and fun operator to play. But once we get past how simple her gadget looks, her primaries are actually pretty good. So she's a 2-speed, making her really great for lurking, and giving her weapons that also are good for lurking. So her secondary is just a normal pistol, but her primaries are really good and fun to use, I guess. I mean, I just really like them. First, she has the SMG, the 9mm, or as I like to call it, the 9,000,000, because that's how many shots it'll take for me to kill you. But even though I suck at the game, this gun doesn't. It has a really low rate of fire for an SMG, but a high damage, making it a lot more like an assault rifle. And when I say high damage, I mean high damage. This thing shreds through people. But this gun doesn't have much customization, but it doesn't need it just because it has barely any recoil at all. It's one of the only guns in the game I'll use the red dot sight on, and it has the angled grip, which is the only attachment you can have, but that works pretty well with it. When it comes to barrels on this, I personally prefer the extended barrel, since the suppressor lowers the damage by a lot. I'm just not the biggest fan of suppressors in the game anyways. This gun, as I mentioned earlier, has extremely low recoil, which makes it great for new players as well. Her other primary is the Super 90 shotgun, which isn't as super as it sounds nowadays. I'll use it for some close range maps, but for some reason I'm not the biggest fan of it. So now that we have her primaries covered, it's time to go into the fun stuff. Her gadget. So she has 3 mechanical leg traps, and normally, since she's one of my favorite operators, I would come up with some kind of joke name for these mechanical leg traps, but Ubisoft already named them the welcome maps, so I have no need to. These traps can be destroyed with explosives and bullets, but besides big boys, breach chargers, and careful attackers, they don't really have much of a counter. Since they're mechanical, they can't be sensed by IQ or destroyed by Thatcher, which is really nice, since most traps in Rainbow can be easily taken out by attackers. The important thing to remember is that you need to be creative with the placement of these. Some people, when they're starting off, put them by doors, which isn't good, because attackers usually blow those up. Most people put them by windows and the tops of stairs, which are good places, but as soon as the attacking team knows that you have a Frost, they'll be looking in these places. So it's usually actually the stupidest spots, like around corners or behind random objects that are never expected. You also want to use areas with dark floors to your advantage, since the welcome map blends in well. Frost other gadgets go perfectly with her welcome mat. The first is barbed wire, which is used for making it harder to see. And then also you have the bulletproof camera, which I like to use to help me track down enemies I caught if I had a welcome mat way on the other side of the map. While most people use the barbed wire, I'll switch between the two, and I think they're both pretty good. Anyways, while she isn't picked much compared to the other operators, and doesn't have that good of a win rate, I think she's better than most people say she is, and is honestly one of the funnest operators to play. So, if you stayed this far into it, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to leave a like, leave a like. Think about subscribing. If this ever gets posted to YouTube, do that. I don't know. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Here's a random clip of my dog.